In the quiet spaces between scripts and spotlights, identity often waits, patient and unassuming. For Reagan Reverd, known to many as Missy Cooper from Young Sheldon, those spaces have become part of their story, not just as a performer, but as someone learning who they truly are, bravely stepping into visibility, into non-binary light. At 17, Reverd has already inhabited many roles. Actress, twin sister of a genius on a beloved sitcom, and now young author. But perhaps their most profound role is the one they're shaping now. A person who declares their non-binary identity to themselves and to a world watching. A mirror in others. Growing up, Reverd saw other people come out as queer or non-binary. With each story, each public voice, a mirror appeared. Oh my God, I see myself in you. That sense of recognition, shared but rare, seeded hope, a sense that maybe one day they too could recognize themselves fully in that mirror. Identity isn't something announced all at once. It percolates, sometimes quietly, sometimes with urgency. For Reverd, the pronoun change on social media to they slashed them in January 2025 was that quiet pulse, a signal in an otherwise noisy world. But public acknowledgement, speaking about their being non-binary, came later, when it felt right, when the self was ready. The importance of representation. To see someone like you reflected in the media, on screen, in an interview, in a book, can feel transformative. Representation isn't just about visibility. It's about permission. Permission to think, I exist. I belong. For young people who feel different, who don't quite fit the neat boxes of he or she, representation can be a lifeline. Reverd, now coming into that space, understands that deeply. They hope that by being open, another kid, somewhere quietly watching, will feel less alone. In a world that often assigns identity before a person even speaks, representation demands attentiveness. Not just to labels, but to the nuanced truth behind them. Reverd's coming out isn't a publicity moment. It's a saturated, lived truth declaring itself. The role of storytelling beyond the screen. Reagan Reverd's work isn't limited to acting. Their debut novel, Rules for Fake Girlfriends, published September 2025, is a queer love story. It's not merely romance. It's a space where identity, longing, loss, and love weave together. Reverd knew from an early age the kind of stories they wanted to see, to tell. Stories where queer people are more than side characters. Stories that feel honest. In writing, Reverd builds bridges between the life they know and the lives of their readers, between what has been represented and what still needs representation. And by doing so, they underscore what being non-binary means, not just in label, but in experience, in relationships, in literature, in day-to-day living. Living out loud, coming out publicly has its risks. There are expectations, backlash, misunderstandings. But there is also something wondrous. The freedom to name what you are, to use the pronouns that feel right, to refuse being constrained by someone else's expectations. For Reagan, changing pronouns, telling their truth, living as they are, it is a claiming of space, a declaration that identity is real, authentic, deserved. They spoke of it as so crazy, the pull between growing up seeing others, and now being that person for someone else. Someone who might one day say, I see myself in you. It's a closing of a circle, an affirmation that what was hoped for is now being lived. The larger landscape. Reagan Reverd's announcement arrives in a time when discussions of gender, identity, and pronouns occupy more of the public conscience than ever. But while visibility has increased, so has the complexity. What identity means, how pronouns are used, how representation is crafted, all require care. There are those who understand, those who criticize, those who are just learning. For public figures like Reverd, there's often no clear map, just moments of choice. Reverd's story suggests that choices matter. Choosing to use they slash them, choosing to speak up, choosing to write stories that reflect their truth. These are not easy choices, they are vulnerable ones. But vulnerability has power. It cracks the walls built by silence and misunderstanding. It shows others that being seen isn't always safe, but sometimes it is necessary. Beyond the labels. Non-binary is one of many ways people might describe their relationship to gender. For some, gender is fluid, changing over time. For others, it may feel static, but outside the binary. For others still, it is unlabeled or indescribable. What matters is that the words people use align with how they feel, or allow them to move toward they feel. Revered's adoption of they/them pronouns, their public coming out, is not about conforming to someone's idea of non-binary. It's about aligning with their own. It doesn't erase their past roles. Missy Cooper remains one of the most endearing, witty, relatable young twins on TV. But now when audiences see Revered in that role, they see both someone who shaped Missy and someone who shapes themselves. The past and identity intersect. Sometimes that can feel messy. Often it feels real. What it means for others. For fans, especially young queer folk, Revered's coming out can do something radical. Shift what is possible. To see someone young, successful, openly non-binary, affirmed. This challenges the idea that identity must be hidden or deferred. It invites courage in those who have been quiet. It reminds parents, teachers, peers that affirmation matters. Representation also evokes responsibility. When someone like Revered uses their platform, they are seen not just as a performer, but as part of a broader tapestry of change. The inclusion isn't just for them. It's for everyone who's ever felt unseen. Conclusion, a new chapter. In a way, every story is about becoming. For Reagan Revered, ceasing to hide, adding their non-binary voice into everything they do, is a becoming. It isn't the end of a journey. That's never quite how identity works, but a new chapter. One where the self is no longer deferred, but declared. There may be challenges. Every public identity comes with them, but there is also beauty. There's the beauty in finding your reflection, in being brave enough to be seen, in offering that gift to others. There's beauty in a voice saying, "Here I am," and the world perhaps saying, "I see you." Revered's story reminds us, living truth is not just an act, it's art. And when done with courage, its echoes reach far beyond a single interview, a single novel, a single role. They ripple outward, shaping how we see ourselves and each other.